All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're analyzing a seriously fascinating and frankly deeply chilling dossier published by Freedom from Tyranny magazine. The core premise here, it claims that the CIA's infamous MKUltra mind control program didn't actually just pack up and end in the 1970s. Instead, the authors argue that it simply evolved. It traded physical laboratories and test subjects for something entirely invisible and completely omnipresent. It's a wild, incredibly complex read, and we're going to break down exactly how they claim this modern architecture of control operates today.
So here is our investigative roadmap. 1. The evolution of MKUltra. 2. Hacking the sleep cycle. 3. Remote neural monitoring. 4. The invisible everyday cage. And finally, number 5. Achieving cognitive liberty.
All right, part 1, the evolution of MKUltra, moving from the physical to the ethereal.
So the source article argues that the intelligence apparatus figured out pretty early on that their original, mid-20th century trauma-based conditioning was fundamentally flawed. It was just way too messy, it left physical scars, and crucially, it left way too many witnesses. So they allegedly shifted away from that scattershot physical approach of the 1960s to a much more elegant, hidden methodology. They dubbed it Project Silent Specter, and it supposedly uses electromagnetic frequencies to achieve what they call subliminal synchronization. Basically, a shift from blunt force to completely invisible influence.
There's this quote from the text that really captures the sheer magnitude of this alleged transition. They moved from the syringe to the signal, from the basement to the boardroom, and from the physical to the ethereal. According to the whistleblowers cited by the magazine, the intelligence community realized that every single thought we have is just an electrochemical event, and those events emit a frequency. By mapping the exact frequencies of our thoughts, the agency supposedly found a brand new skeleton key, one that just entirely bypasses all our traditional human defenses.
That brings us to part 2, hacking the sleep cycle, which they call the nocturnal breach.
Now, what is really interesting here is how the authors claim operatives actually use this skeleton key. To bypass our critical thinking and our natural skepticism, these programs allegedly strike when we're in our most vulnerable biological state, which is the REM sleep cycle. The primary mechanism for this is defined in the dossier as electronic sleep entrainment. The text claims that low-frequency signals, which perfectly mirror your brain's natural delta and theta waves, are broadcast directly into your home. And the delivery method? Well, the dossier alleges these signals are just piggybacked onto modern conveniences. We're talking smart meters, 5G towers, even the subtle white noise generated by your smart appliances. So yeah, it turns out your smart fridge might be doing a whole lot more than just ordering your milk.
And this builds into a very specific sequenced nocturnal breach. It starts with targeting REM sleep to transmit those low-frequency signals, which then entrain your brainwaves. But step 4 is where the actual manipulation allegedly kicks in. They call this the invasion phase, where literal seeds of suggestion are planted deep into your subconscious.
This invasion phase relies on a phenomenon the authors call acoustic heterodyning, or you might know it as the Frey effect. The magazine claims this tech actually beams modulated microwave signals directly into a person's inner ear. The crazy result is that this external audio doesn't sound like a radio broadcast at all. It sounds exactly like your own internal monologue. They argue this is used to script dreams or even induce sudden political and personal urges. The goal is to make targets wake up truly believing these injected thoughts are actually their own natural intuition.
It's an absolutely terrifying concept. By targeting the motor cortex and emotional centers, like the amygdala, via what they call neural oscillatory manipulation, modern operatives can theoretically bypass human will entirely. This results in erratic actions, forcing individuals into what the authors term a new Manchurian reality. Victims literally describe feeling like a mere passenger in their own physical bodies.
Moving on to part 3, remote neural monitoring, or hovering over thoughts.
This is where the dossier transitions from manipulating thoughts to actively surveilling them. They define remote neural monitoring, or RNM, as the ultimate surveillance tool. The text claims that by indexing your biometric data, which is often gathered through mandatory collections or even those commercial DNA testing services you see everywhere, intelligence agencies can lock onto your unique EMF neural fingerprint. From there, satellite and ground arrays can essentially just hover over your thoughts, performing remote functional neuroimaging to monitor spikes in neural centers, spikes that are associated with feelings like guilt, anger, or recognition.
The authors paint a very Orwellian picture with this one. They describe a literal thought police state based on pre-crime calibration.
Under this alleged system, simply harboring rebellious ideas or questioning authority flags you in a massive database. But instead of a traditional physical arrest, the system automatically fires off a remote corrective frequency directly to your location. This supposedly induces sudden lethargy, depression, or a completely unexplained change of heart.
Let's look at Part 4, the invisible everyday cage, hiding in plain sight. Now you might be wondering, how on earth could a massive global operation like this stay hidden? Well, the authors argued the Internet of Things acts as the physical backbone. Your smart speakers, your connected cars, they all operate as nodes. Plus, the sheer volume of everyday electromagnetic noise in cities provides the perfect camouflage. They even allege that CIA-backed venture capital like MKUltra actively funds consumer tech. They explicitly warned that your favorite binaural meditation apps or AI neural links might actually be hiding backdoor frequencies.
The investigation then shifts focus to the human toll, highlighting the plight of what they called targeted individuals. The text points out a really stark contrast. While these individuals are out there suffering from sudden head zaps or Havana syndrome-like symptoms right in their own suburban homes due to voice-to-skull technology, they are systematically discredited. The magazine claims these victims are quickly stamped with marginalized diagnoses like schizophrenia, specifically to keep the entire operation invisible and easily dismissed by the general public. To back this up, the text includes this incredibly chilling quote from a former defense contractor whistleblower that the magazine interviewed. They describe the ultimate, horrifying goal of this voice-to-skull technology as forced self-destruction. By making a target believe they're losing their grip on reality, the apparatus essentially coerces them into taking themselves out of the equation entirely. It's just a brutal concept. Which leads us to Part 5, Achieving Cognitive Liberty, Creating a Shield of Sovereignty.
So, where does all this leave us? To conclude their dossier, the authors insist that acknowledging the reality of this neural war is the absolute first step toward fighting back. They outline these 5 steps as physical and digital protocols for protecting your mental sovereignty against a multi-billion-dollar intelligence apparatus. These strategies range from creating analog sanctuaries by hardwiring your internet at home, to using physical Faraday shielding around your bed to block sleep entrainment, completely refusing to use neural biometrics, and actively supporting whistleblowers to expose the signal to the world.
But out of all of these, the defense mechanism they emphasize most heavily is psychological. They specifically highlight the practice of active consciousness. This is a technique that encourages you to deeply, critically question the origin of your own thoughts and fears. If you experience an out-of-character sudden urge or a massive emotional spike out of nowhere, the authors urge you to pause, step back, and treat it as a potential external signal, rather than an absolute personal truth. The article ultimately leaves us with a profound, genuinely existential question. If your thoughts are monitored, your dreams scripted, and your actions forced, do you truly exist? The dossier argues that the human mind is the absolute final frontier of freedom. Look, whether you view the claims in this dossier as extreme paranoia or a hidden, terrifying reality, their argument forces us to confront the vulnerability of our own minds in a hyper-connected, frequency-filled world. It challenges us to ask, in an age of invisible signals, how do we actually protect our cognitive liberty? Definitely something to think about the next time you put in your smart earbuds or turn on a sleep app. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.